So in this session we are going to discuss about the alternative approach to this Laplacius solution, which is finally numerical. And here what we are going to discuss is called, as I have mentioned it in the previous session, that is called this one-Karman momentum integral approach, and which will be giving us the approximate analytical solution regarding the velocity field and other field variables of the boundary layer flow. So see here in one-Karman momentum integral equation. So actually I am not deriving it. If we integrate continuity and Navier-Stokes x directional equation over the boundary layer thickness, that is y in the range of 0 to delta, we will get one-Karman equation. And what is that equation? The equation is tau w divided by rho into capital U square is equal to del theta del x plus delta star u into d capital U dx. So this is basically include the scope of accelerating plates as well, because if capital U changes with the x direction, that is the direction of flow, so u del x, this del u del x term will be non-zero if the plate itself is accelerating, right? So we consider here a restricted case of non-accelerating plates, that is either static or moving with constant velocity. The plate is either static or moves with constant velocity. So in case of constant velocity, this u will be equal to u free stream plus minus this u plate, right? Will work with a relative velocity. Okay, will work with the relative velocity if the plate is moving with constant velocity. So you consider the restricted case of non-accelerating plate, that is this du dx will be equal to 0. So our equation becomes this tau w divided by rho into u square del x of theta, and theta is the momentum in this momentum thickness. So it is 0 to infinity or 0 to delta. Delta is the boundary layer thickness, which is u by capital U 1 minus small u by capital U dy. So 0 to infinity and delta, they are equivalent, because beyond this or above and over y greater than delta, we have u equal to capital U. So this term actually reduces to 0 and its derivative will also be 0. So this is my equation. And how will you solve it? Solution procedure for u. How will you solve it? See, the velocity profile at any x with y is something like this. So this is the velocity profile. Assume a polynomial form of u by capital U in terms of y by delta. Now here delta is the actual boundary layer thickness, which we don't know, right? But we will work with that and finally we will try to find out that how delta varies with x. So what will be that? We are assuming say u by u is equal to a0 plus a1 y by delta plus a2 y by delta square, and maximally we can go up to this a3 y by delta cube. Why? Because we have to solve for these unknown coefficients a0, a1, a2 and a3. Okay, and actually there are only 4 boundary conditions available. So what are the boundary conditions? At y is equal to 0, at y is equal to 0, u equal to 0. Right? Number 1. Number 2, y is equal to delta, then u equal to capital U. Number 3, y is equal to delta, del u del y is equal to 0. And what will be the number 4? Y is equal to 0, del square u del y square is equal to 0. Why? Because at y is equal to 0, u and v is equal to 0, and Navier-Stokes x direction gives you that u del x plus v del u del y is equal to nu del square u del y square. Right? So del u, this u is equal to 0, v is equal to 0, so obviously this is equal to 0 at y equal to 0. Okay? So we have 4 boundary conditions and we can solve for this a0, a1, a2 and a3. Finally, we will be getting this expression that u by capital U is equal to 2y by delta minus y by delta whole square. So alternatively it's 2 eta, so alternatively 2 eta minus eta square, where eta is equal to y by delta. Right? So once we are having this u by capital U functionality in terms of eta is expressed, however we don't know the value of delta. So if you can calculate the delta value, my problem is solved, and for that we will use this one carbon equation. Right? So first it is tau w is equal to mu into del u del y at y equal to 0. Let's solve it first in terms of delta. Right? So it is 2 by delta mu multiplied minus 2 this y divided by delta square, right, into capital, because this is being cross multiplied at y is equal to 0. So it is 2 mu u by delta. 2 mu u by delta. We are substituting y equal to 0, so this term vanishes and we are getting 2 mu u by delta. Next, see del theta del x. So it is del x of integral 0 to delta u by capital U 1 minus u by capital U dy. So you can write that as del x 0 to 1 u by capital U 1 minus small u by capital U. Now you see this eta is equal to y by delta, right? So y eta into delta. So dy, eta is a function of this, eta will be taken the derivative. Delta is a function of x, so it will remain constant, because we are integrating with respect to y. So dy is equal to delta into d. So delta is a function of x, and this integration excluding delta is giving you a numerical value. So you can write this as d delta dx into 0 to 1. Then u by u is 2 eta minus eta square, and here it is 1 minus 2 eta minus eta square d eta. So if I integrate, see, simply it is an algebra, you can do it, and if I integrate, I will get an expression. Here this expression will be this what will be the expression? So the left hand side is 2 mu u by delta divided by rho into u square. That is basically equal to tau w divided by rho into u square. So it is, see, this u cancels out. So 2 mu divided by delta into rho into u. And this is d delta dx into 2 by 15. So the exact value of this numerical, this integral is reducing into 2 by 15, right? So if I solve it now, this is a differential, first order differential equation with delta, and my boundary condition is x equal to 0, delta equal to 0. So this is delta is there. So 2 mu, or rather 2 cancels out, 15 mu divided by rho into u into x is equal to delta square by 2, and finally we will be getting delta is equal to 4.48 x divided by under root of Rex. If you solve this or finally reduce it in the form of local Reynolds number, right? 4.48. This is typically the numerical value which we have to go for. Sorry, it is not 4.48, 5.48. Anyway, this is under root of 30 basically. So this is under root of 30, the numerical constant. So under root of 30 will be this 5.48, right? So 5.48x divided by under root of Rex. So you see here that this, if I compare with Blasius solution, which is 5x divided by under root of Rex, this is we are getting from Blasius. So the error of von Karman delta with respect to the delta Blasius is basically less than 10%. So it is quite acceptable, right? So you see that the von Karman can be used for solving the velocity profile if you are given that, okay, so what are the points to be noted here? Here we have considered a polynomial form, right? So if that form is changed to something else like a sinusoidal form with some constant, so that you must solve, these constants you must solve by the same technique of using these boundary conditions. So no matter what sort of this functional form you are assuming, it must be consistent with this, and additionally you have to note that you cannot use more than 4 constants because the available boundary conditions are only 4. So with this 3 boundary, here in handout actually we have not considered this and we have dropped this term, right? We have considered only 3, and eventually it will result the same because actually the cubic term coefficient A3 reduces to 0. So if you drop this specific boundary condition and work with only these 3 boundary conditions, you will get the same result, right? So that has been actually solved in the handout, but you can include it and you can show it that finally A3 is going to be equal to 0. This A0 is also 0, A1 is equal to 2 and A2 is equal to -1, and this is the strategy that once you have got this U, so you first evaluate tau W and next you evaluate d theta dx, right, where this d delta dx term will evolve. So finally if you use this von Karman equation, you will get a first order differential equation in terms of this delta, which you solve with this boundary condition that the leading edge of the plate, that there is no boundary layer thickness. So delta equal to 0, x equal to 0, and from there we are getting the solution, direct analytical solution using Born-Kármán momentum integral method, and which is in 10% error, less than 10% error compared to that of Blasius solution, and Blasius solution finally it was numeric, right? So this is the specific advantage in terms of scope of this analytical solution in Born-Kármán method, right? So we will try to extend the same idea for boundary layer, which is in turbulent regime. See, this entire solution is valid, Blasius as well as Born-Kármán, it's valid. So what is the point? Blasius and Born-Kármán solution is valid up to x, for which Rex is less than 5 into 10 to the power 5, right? So if Rex is greater than 10 to the power 7, what will be U by capital? So we will not go by this solution of Navier-Stokes equation, but we can approach tentatively using Born-Kármán. So this we are studying Born-Kármán approach for turbulent boundary layer. Now you see what will be our equation. Generally, we know that in turbulent flow there are three regimes. There is the laminar sublayer, buffer layer and turbulent core. But if I am using these three different equations which we have discussed in this one of the previous session, that this laminar sublayer is represented by this functional form u plus equal to y plus for y plus less than 5, or u plus equal to 2.5 ln y plus 5 for in the buffer layer, and there was additionally another form of this capital U minus u bar divided by u star is equal to 2.5 ln of capital R by y, that is the velocity profile, actual velocity profile in turbulent core. So it will be quite complicated, right? So for that we use power law, right? Now power law equation we know for pi, and what is that? For pi it is u by capital U, right? Or u bar by capital U. It's equal to 1 minus small r by capital R to the power 1 by u. But it is pi flow. How we can apply it for boundary layer flow? See, in pipe also we have, from the concept of entrance length we know that there is a boundary layer growth, right? Meeting somewhere here. Okay? So this is R, definitely this much is Y, the distance from the plate. So we can write that u bar, the mean velocity at position Y, divided by capital U, which is the center line velocity, or alternatively this is the free stream velocity, because finally when the fully developed flow we will have, here we will have capital U, right? So this will be the capital U, and any farther downstream will also have this capital U. So u by, this is a tentative procedure, it's not the direct actual one. Uy by capital U, we can write r minus small r divided by capital R to the power 1 by n. Now r you see, it's in the order of r, it's in the order of delta, closely equal to, right? And this capital R minus small r is y, this is delta. So you can say that we have a turbulent boundary profile equation. We don't have to go by this polynomial approximation, but directly we can write this 1/7 power law. Though definitely there is some approximation here, because we are directly writing r equal to delta, which is actually precisely not the case because delta grows. Okay. So next, however, if I try to find out tau w as mu into del u bar del y at y is equal to 0, what will happen? This will be 1/7 into 1/7 minus 1. So 1 divided by y by delta to the power 6 by 7 into 1 by delta, and if I evaluate it at y equal to 0, it blows to infinity. So you cannot use 1/7 power law for shear stress evaluation. However, we can do that for del theta del x evaluation. So that is basically del x of this 0 to delta u by capital U 1 minus small u by capital U dy. So what we can do? We can replace 0 to delta y by delta whole to the power 1 by 7 into 1 minus y by delta whole to the power 1 by 7 and dy. We can do that, right? So if we do that, and there will be del x. So we can change this dy to deta into delta, and this limit we can change to 0 to 1. So we'll get this d delta dx multiplied by the constant, which is this 0 to 1 eta to the power 1 by 7 1 minus eta to the power 1 by 7 d eta. So what will be getting? This if I do that, I'll be getting 7 divided by 72 d delta dx. Right? Now question is how to solve for tau w. Right? So that's a very important question, and we solve it smartly through some different approach and drawing an equivalence between that specific value of tau w with that of boundary layer. See, we have Darcy's friction factor, or rather Fanning's friction factor. We know what is that? It's equal to tau w divided by half of rho v bar square. And we know according to the Blasius relation, Darcy's friction factor, which is 4 of Fanning's friction factor, is 0.3164 or something like that divided by r e to the power 1 by 5. So if I substitute it back, I will get tau w is equal to 0.0332. Yeah, this is an empirical correlation. 0.0332 into rho v bar square into nu divided by r into v bar whole to the power this is 0.25, 1 by 4, so 0.25. But this is valid for turbulent flow in pipe, right? And we are going to change it now for turbulent boundary layer flow over a flat plate. How we can do that? We know that v bar divided by u is equal to 2n squared divided by n plus 1 into 2n plus 1. So for n is equal to this 7, this v bar divided by capital U reduces to 8. It will be reducing into this value 0.817. Right. So see, we can replace this v bar as 0.817 into u, and this as 0.817 into u square. Next r we can replace by delta. We can replace r by delta. So if I do that, if I do this thing, I will be getting this tau w for this turbulent boundary layer flow is equal to 0.0233 rho into capital U square into nu divided by u into delta whole to the power 1 by 4. Right? So that if you substitute in this equation tau w divided by rho u square, we are going to give you 0.0233 into nu divided by u into delta whole to the power 1 by 4, which will be equal to the 7 by 72 d delta dx. 7 divided by 72 d delta dx, and again we can solve it as x equal to 0, delta equal to 0 type boundary condition. So our final solution, if we integrate, it will become 0.382 x divided by Ix to the power 1 by 5, right? Okay, but that's a tentative solution. It's not the accurate exact solution because we are using this empirical power law correlation, and also we are empirically transforming Blasius correlation of Fanning's friction factor or Darcy's friction factor using the definition of Fanning's friction factor to evaluate the shear stress at the pipe wall, and that we are changing through assuming this n is equal to 7 and all, then V bar and U and R we are empirically replacing in terms of delta. So this is an approach by which we can get a tentative solution for delta. Definitely it is not accurate because there are certain questionable assumptions, and at the same time we are using the approximate method of von Karman analysis. But that is so far the best available baseline method for calculating the velocity profile in a turbulent boundary layer flow. So what we see that delta turbulent is proportional to x to the power 4 by 5, whereas delta laminar was proportional to x to the power half. So you can understand that what we have previously talked about, that d delta turbulent dx is at any point greater than d delta L dx. So in a plate, this is y and x, and we have uniform flow approaching this plate. So initially it will be this will be the growth of the boundary layer like this, and laminar boundary layer equation will be valid up to the point where Rex is locally equal to 5 into 10 to the power 5. Now after Rex is equal to 10 to the power 7, we'll have the transition cannot be solved directly because it is much more complicated, but from the turbulent the growth will be like this, right? So it's much higher pace. So here it is delta T, here it is delta L. So you can see this growth rate of turbulent boundary layer is much higher than that of laminar boundary layer. So similar to this laminar flow, here the skin friction coefficient, that is tau W, can be solved, and skin friction coefficient tau W, which is defined as tau W divided by this half of rho into capital U square, will be coming to be 0.0594 divided by Rex to the power 1 by 5. The point is that you don't have to remember this entire, all these values and all, but please note that delta T is proportional to x to the power 4.5. This coefficient value you don't have to remember, but the functional dependence you must note down, right? And this is a procedure by which the empirical 1/7 power law, how we can incorporate in the von Karman analysis. So this is an approach that how the domain knowledge of one specific area or phenomenology or phenomena can be transformed into the appropriate expression for simply another phenomenon, right? By considering this concept of entrance line. So next topic will be the final topic regarding this boundary layer, and that's called boundary layer separation. So we'll be discussing this boundary layer separation now. Right. So let's consider this topic called boundary layer separation. You see that let's have this boundary layer growing on this bottommost surface for a conduit like this. This is Y, this is X. Right? So here we have the uniform flow approaching this. So you see, whenever it has got an enlarging cross-sectional area, so here from this point onward, say point 1, from this point onward we will have del P del X positive. Right? Del P del X will be positive. Why? Because it's a straightaway outcome of Bernoulli's equation. Like if we think that V into A is constant, which is kind of pi continuity equation, or U into A is constant, see, then U into dA dx, X is the direction of flow, plus A into du dx is 0. So du dx is simply equal to minus of this U by A dA dx. So if dA dx is positive, du dx is negative. And additionally, if I don't consider, these are tentative analysis, don't consider this frictional head loss, this head in Bernoulli's equation, excluding the gravity head, is remaining constant. So 1 by rho dP dx plus U du dx, that's equal to 0. So dP dx is equal to minus of rho into U du dx. So if dA dx is positive, du dx is negative, and essentially dP dx will be positive because there is a sign change due to this minus sign. Right? So this type of pressure gradient, which acts in the direction opposite to that of flow, the net force will be in the direction opposite to that of flow, and basically it's causing a hindrance to the flow. It's called adverse pressure gradient. Right? This is called this adverse pressure gradient. So why? Because of this adverse pressure gradient, the fluid will be undergoing a deceleration. Let's try to understand this. So let's consider a fluid particle moving like this here, right? So the force balance, what will be that? The net force. See, here we have the particle at the center. Let's consider the pressure is P, shear is tau Ix. So here it will be del tau Ix minus this span is dy, this is dx. So tau Ix minus del tau Ix del y into dy by 2, and on here it will be tau Ix plus del tau Ix del y into dy by 2, right? And here it will be P minus del P del X into dx by 2, and here it will be P plus del P del X into dx by 2. So overall, the force in the x direction, which is the sum of the surface force and body force, so body force we will consider to be equal to 0 in the positive x direction. This minus this, so this minus this. Okay. So this is minus of del P del X. Here this is the driving force. So minus of del P del X minus del P del X. So minus of del P del X into dx into dy into w in the positive direction, and plus del tau Ix del y into dx into dy into w. Right? So now you see this is this delta yx del y, then minus del p del x into dx dy w. Right? And the term del p del x, previously in case of flow between two infinite plates this was negative, now here it is positive. So it's acting as a force of hindrance, right? And shear can never be a driving force. The shear is also negative, right? The shear is also negative, and that how this with the y direction the shear force decreases. So basically you see that in order to get the proper direction of the shear force, we have to put a negative sign as I mentioned, right? So to get it, I will be having minus of mu del u del y, right? So here you see this u definitely will be something like this. So del u del y is positive, del u del y is positive, so tau yx is negative. And as we move away from the wall, truly from this physical reason, the shear stress with y is decreasing. So overall we can conclude that dfx is negative, right? So this is a force against the flow, right? So what will happen? If the fluid particles enters here with a velocity capital U, so here it is small u, the average velocity, u will be less than capital U, so its velocity is progressively being expanded in order to overcome the overall negative force which is acting on that particle. So there will be some point here where it has to expend all its initial kinetic energy, and finally it will be having a zero velocity. So you see that for a fluid particle which is somewhere over here, like if I think of a fluid particle somewhere over here at a higher y coordinate initially, so this is u, so this will traverse a somewhat higher distance, right, before losing all its kinetic energy. Why it will be so? Because at here the overall shear stress will be lower compared to this particle. So definitely here it will experience less retarding force and it will traverse more distance, right? So what we have to know that if I consider the flow over the same flat plate, the typical boundary layer flow, and now we have an adverse pressure gradient prevailing, that is del P del x is positive, and this is the free stream velocity. So we'll have the normal growth of boundary layer like this. So here if I consider this velocity profile, it will be like this, right? But for a particle here or here or here or here, so this particle comes to rest somewhere here, this particle comes to rest somewhere here, this particle is coming to rest somewhere here and here. So if these are all u equal to 0 points, this is u equal to 0, u equal to 0, u equal to 0. So if I mark this point and try to draw the velocity profile here, it will be theoretically like this. In this region we will have a negative velocity because the force will be prevailing everywhere, right? This negative directional force will be prevailing everywhere. So once the fluid particle loses its velocity, now from the sense of material continuity, if I think of fluid particle here, right, the same fluid particle here, so it has got already zero velocity, zero positive x directional velocity at this point, but still it's being subjected to the force in the opposite direction, so it will have a negative x directional velocity, but above and over this point still there will be some positive x directional velocity. Correct? So at this point, what will be the profile? Here the profile, just let me draw it here. The profile at this point where the fluid particle very close to that surface is having zero velocity, its profile will be something like this. Right? So what is the special characteristics at this point? Here the characteristics is y equal to 0, u equal to 0. This is obviously valid for here as well. So this is no slip. But additionally, we will have that y is equal to 0, y is equal to 0, del u del y is also equal to 0. Right? The del u del y value is also equal to 0. And this point is referred as the point of boundary layer separation. Point of boundary layer separation. Right? So this is the boundary layer and this is the separated boundary layer. This is the separated boundary layer. But truly, you see that the structured velocity in the negative x direction, the flow will not able to maintain this. Like this velocity in the structured form in the negative x direction, the flow will not be able to maintain it. Why? Because in real life situation, this is the separated boundary layer, original boundary layer, this is the separated boundary layer. Here the flow will be just like the previous, like this. Right? Now here we have a negative directional flow, which will get reflected and it cannot cross this line. So it has to get reflected here and forming waves. Right? This is the wake region. Okay? So inside the separated boundary layer, we will have the negative directional velocity will reflect and finally leading to the formation of wave. So see, if probably you have observed that if I have a funnel or rather this cross-sectional extension of the pipe outlet and we have the flow, what do we observe? The main flow is something coming out like this, and here we will have lot of eddies entering, air bubbles and all, right? So these are the wake region and the main flow is coming out through the central region of the nozzle, right? There will be a velocity profile whatever it is, but this is typically the example of flow separation as we have discussed. So flow separation particularly is triggered by adverse pressure gradient, right? So adverse pressure gradient is fundamentally responsible for this flow separation, and this is leading to the adverse pressure gradient. Actually, we can have it if I have got a diverging cross section in the channel or these streamlines may be diverging away, like what I am trying to talk about. Like in any open flow, like I have a vertical plate, right, placed in this flow stream. What will be the structure of the streamline? Say this is the central point, this is the central point, and here the fluid comes, moves up, then there will be a separation. Here the fluid comes, moves down, and there will be a separation. So question is, why it is being separated? In the overall flow, this del P del X, it's an open flow, so del P del X must be 0. So how come the boundary layer separation takes place? See, we can think of an imaginary tube, a tube made of streamlines, right? Tubes made of streamlines like this. Okay, so imaginary tube. So if whatever flow enters here, let the flow rate be Q, the same flow rate must come out, because there will be no flow across streamline. Right? So if I think of a stream tube like this, so actually, as because of the obstruction, it has to maintain the same flow of fluid, so it will enlarge itself. Right? It will enlarge itself like this. It will be enlarging itself like this. So if I think of a streamline coordinate, as we have discussed in this Euler's equation, let's say this is the streamline, right, and respectively this is the stream tube, okay, and that's the streamline coordinate. We can say that as the stream tube is enlarging in order to allow the same flow rate of the fluid. Here, why it is enlarging? Because here we have a high velocity. Whenever it's facing an obstacle, this x directional velocity reduces. So basically, if it has to allow the same flow of the fluid, whatever is entered at this port 1, it has to enlarge in cross-sectional area. So we can write that dA ds is positive, du ds will be negative. Very similar approach we have discussed. So dP ds will be positive, right? So in that stream tube, even the overall flow is an open flow. In the stream tube, advancing or approaching stream tube, we will have an adverse pressure gradient, and because of that, there will be flow separation at these edges, leading to the wake region in the separated boundary layer, right? So this we will be discussing in the section called, or in the section or of drag, right? So that's called the flow separation. It happens even in the case of this solid objects like a typical airfoil, right? So here, at somewhere over here, there will be flow separation, and point of separation has been pushed to the far downstream of this object. Right? And basically we will discuss that the point of separation, by changing the shape of this object, if we can delay this point or delay this separation and push the point of separation more towards the rear half of this object, we will have less dragging resistance or less resistance of the fluid, right, offered to the solid in the direction of flow. This is called drag. So drag force, which is mostly we have to avoid in systems which are some moving objects, right? So drag force can be minimized if I change this pattern of that body and change the overall contour of this object and align it more to the streamline structure and disturb the overall streamline structure of the uniform flow less, then we can push the point of separation more towards the rear half of this object and we can minimize the drag force. This fundamental idea of changing the shape is called streamlining of an object. You see, this fish is naturally a streamlined, it has got a streamlined contour. We have the racing cars which are basically streamlined in order to minimize the drag resistance of the force. All high-speed cars and planes and Concorde planes and everything, whatever you can think that where we will have a high drag resistance, they are minimizing the drag basically upon pushing the point of separation more towards this rear half of this surface, this body, right? And that's called the engineering technique of streamlining. So we'll discuss it in the chapter of drag.